Hi, Year 11. This video is going to focus on respiration. I'd suggest that you're familiar with all your muscle contractions, muscle structure, bone structure, all of that before getting to here. Now, when we talk about muscles and the movement of the human body, recognize that for movement to occur, for it to be controlled movement, for it to be deliberate, for it to be intentional, you're very likely to need some energy to get that to happen. And muscles get the energy they need from work that happens in their mitochondria in their cells. So mitochondria are, to use a year nine definition, like your power plant of the cell. They're going to be where you're taking food and basically turning it into energy that's going to allow muscles to do their jobs. So more specifically, cellular respiration is the process that converts glucose and oxygen into usable forms of energy for the muscles. Now, broadly, there are two versions of cellular respiration. There's aerobic respiration, and that uses oxygen. And that's going to be glucose and oxygen being converted into energy and water and carbon dioxide. And when there's plenty of oxygen, that's pretty much where your body goes. There's also anaerobic metabolism. Now, the big difference between aerobic and anaerobic is that anaerobic metabolism does not require oxygen. It can only be used by the muscles when the muscle first starts working. The extra glucose and oxygen supply that will come from an increase in heart rate and breathing rate, they may not have got to a muscle. So very often they're a starting point. They can also occur, anaerobic metabolism can also occur when insufficient oxygen is making it to an actual muscle. And as a result of that, that anaerobic metabolism will result in glucose being converted straight to energy and lactic acid in a muscle cell. Now, that creates a problem. Lactic acid in the muscle can cause cramps, and that can make muscles ache. You need oxygen to remove that lactic acid, and a muscle is said to be in oxygen debt while there's still lactic acid in the muscle tissue. After exercise, extra oxygen is going to be taken in. It's going to continue to be taken in. You might notice after really heavy exercise that you're breathing deeply and you're breathing quickly. The extra oxygen that you're taking in is being put into your bloodstream, it's getting down to your muscles, and it's being used to remove lactic acid. If the lactic acid builds up in the muscles, they will get tired. The fancy science word for that is fatigued. And that means they won't work so well. Now, training can build bigger, stronger muscles, and it can increase the amount of mitochondria in muscle cells. It's why when you exercise and you train, you get better at things. You get fatigued less quickly. They can also increase the size of the fibers in the muscles. So you've got more fiber, you've got more fibers in your muscles, and you've got more mitochondria. The muscle's going to have a better supply of energy and it can work harder for longer. This is a huge advantage around training. A better blood supply is going to bring more blood containing all that oxygen, containing glucose, and that will basically improve over time. So the more you train, the more you build this stuff up, the more tolerant you are of being able to work and build up muscle, stay aerobic for longer, and potentially not be fatigued as quickly. You can also have diseases of muscle. So, an aching muscle from muscle fatigue is going to gradually take a bit of damage. So, let's be specific here. One of the versions of damage that you can get is going to be atrophy. And atrophy is a gradual reduction in the size and the strength of a muscle when they're not used for a long time. You don't use it, you lose it. You've also got cramp. Cramp is a spasm of muscle and it's relieved by basically working it out and basically rubbing that muscle down. So you can often get cramp being caused by a buildup of lactic acid. Okay, so if you've got that spasming going on, then clearly the muscle's not going to be able to contract effectively. And if you're an athlete and you're aiming for peak performance, cramp is not your friend. Strains and tears can also occur when muscles are stretched abnormally. So, strained muscle won't be able to function adequately, and that can result in the loss of movement of the limb or of the joint. Strains are broadly treated by resting up, compressing them, keeping them high, ice them. Okay, don't confuse that with a stitch. A stitch is a sharp pain in the side. They're not really well understood in terms of biological studies. What leads to a stitch is just usually a build-up of well, it's muscular contraction, sharp pain, but it's not the same thing as a cramp. Also, stiff muscles. You go off and you start smashing your exercise and you're not used to doing it, that stiffness will come from fluid that you've built up in the muscle that's not been drained away efficiently during exercise. The more you train, the less likely you are to get stiff. So there you go.